Hi everyone, welcome to Surah Online. I'm Surah Swaleh, and joining me today is a legendary actor, writer, director, producer and entrepreneur. I'm talking about Mr. Tim Reid. Tim Reid was born on December 19th in 1944 in Virginia. In the late 60s, Tim joined up with his friend Tom Dreesen, where they began the successful comedy duo Tim and Tom. Since then, Tim has been in countless movies and TV shows such as It and Frank's Place. However, some people may know him best as Ray Campbell on the hit sitcom Sister Sister. He is now the creator of the network Legacy of a People, where they feature entertainment programming for and about the African people. And I'm so honoured to have him on my show today. You have an impressive resume. You're a director, an actor, and you've started your own network where you've given Black people a voice to talk about their life experiences with the world. So along the way of making your network, has there been a story you've heard from somebody that you're going to carry that with you for the rest of your life?
Gosh, there's so many stories. My love is history and culture of people of the African diaspora, and wherever I travel, whether it's on the continent or I'm dealing with the African diaspora who now lives in Europe or the Middle East or wherever I find them, I'm always struck by their stories on how they got there or the circumstances on which they find themselves living and the difficulties or the pleasures and joys of being a transported African to some other culture, and whether it's generational, you know, how did it affect the country, and how did the country affect you? Those are the stories that I'm most excited about, and there's so many of them.
Right, and when you were growing up, were you very connected to your roots as a child? Was your family, your parents always talking about where you come from?
No, not at all. All I knew is that my parents came from a little place in Virginia called Whaleyville. It doesn't show up on the map. And they had been there for at least two generations, starting out after slavery as sharecroppers. And, I spent time on the land that my generation of my family had been slaves on. So I always had a connection with the culture, but not so much to the African continent. I learned about Africa in church, in Sunday school, and when they would tell stories about people like the Queen of Sheba. I mean, that's the first Black royal person I had ever heard of in Sunday school. This Black woman from a place called Abyssinia, and she was queen and was a lover of King Solomon, and that kind of got me interested. So, as a very young kid, say about 10 or 11, I was fascinated with a place called Abyssinia, and I kept dreaming of going there. I believe in the power of dreams. And about 20 years ago, I made my first trip to Ethiopia, and I've been going ever since. And the culture of Ethiopia, the culture of some of the other countries. I'd had my heritage traced, DNA, and I found out that I'm from the west coast of my family's bloodline is from the west coast of Nigeria. I wanted it to be Ethiopia, but I'll take Nigeria. So, but you see, I the thing that I have learned, and I hope we don't break up yet, but what I've learned is that in Africa, people don't call themselves Black. They call themselves Igbo, Yoruban. They call themselves Ghanaians. They call themselves Cape Verdeans. They call themselves Ethiopians. The term Black is a colonial term that was given to us to identify us all in one lump sum. And we use it in America because we have been so disconnected from our heritage. But in my travels to Africa, I started my first travel in '75. It sort of was reassuring to me to learn that there was a place that I was connected to by my DNA, by my ancestral connections. But I didn't go heavy into it. I'm not into Afrocentric. The Black people created everything. I'm more into we uh, we make it wherever we are, and that's what excites me about history.
Excellent. And with the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter movement, is that something that you're going to be discussing in the network, or is that kind of a heavy topic for you?
Well, it's we go through phases in America. We people of African descent here, and I was very active in the civil rights movement in the '60s. I marched on Washington. I was president of a branch of SNCC. I became president of the student chapter of NAACP. I've helped integrate many of the places that as a kid I was unable to go to or sit on the back of the bus. So I was active in that first phase in my lifespan. I was very active in the '60s. So when I see the Black Lives Movement, it's just an extension of the battle that we've had in the U.S. for centuries. It's all connected. It's all the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, from runaway slaves to current people who are finding the injustices. So I see it all as one thing. And even in London, I did a documentary when I was working in London on the Black Lives Matter as it started, not recently, but a year or so, a few years back.
Yeah.
And we did a documentary called Black Lives Matter. Yeah, yeah. So I've been connected through my work with some of my associates, both in England and in Africa, and of course here.
Now, do you enjoy this process of your life more, or do you enjoy acting more? Do you have a preference, or even directing more?
Um, my skill set says I am most at use as a director. I mean, all the things that I have gathered in my life cycle. I'm in my '70s, so photography, everything that I've been a part of me growing into business seems to work and come out in the best way as a director. As an actor, I'm a decent actor, but it was never my driving force to be, the Denzel Washington of, there is a Denzel Washington, he's damn good. So as a writer, as a producer, I enjoy that. I just enjoy being in this business. I find that those of us who are blessed to have a place in this business have a responsibility. I'm a cultural propagandist, and I choose to be propagandize about my culture, and we have a very powerful weapon, and that is the media business and how we can shape the minds of people that watch and listen to our music or see what we're doing. And I think we all have to be a bit more responsible in that blessing. Not only do you fortunate to earn a good living, but if you're successful, but you also have a purpose, and that is to spread the best of us to the most of us.
As I said, you've had a very impressive resume, and you've touched on my life in a way that when I see you, I just see you Ray Campbell. Like, I just see you just as Ray all the time. And I'm sure there are other people around the world who have different, characters of you that they think of when they see you. So, have you had a significant moment in your life where somebody's approached you and said, "You've made an impact in my life in some way"? And if they have, how does that make you feel to know that you're such, you're so into somebody's life and you didn't even know it?
Well, yes, I've had a couple, and I'll give you one example shortly. But what it does, it awakens me to the blessing that I have, and again, that inner purpose. This is a powerful medium, a powerful medium. And when it comes to people of African descent, we've been so used by the medium to our disadvantage that when you have a chance to use it to your own purpose in terms of your, trying to say something about who you are, who your people are, where you're from, we have to be very mindful of that. I was at an event a few years ago, and a young lady walked up to me and she says, "Hi." I said, "Hi." And she wanted an autograph. And she said, "You have no idea what you meant to me." And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "I was in the foster home program." I don't know what they call it in Europe, but where your parents go, well, she was a foster child and she was in several families. And when you get a certain age, nobody wants you anymore. And so she was put out on her own at around 14, I think. and she says, I never had a father. I never had a father figure. I was in foster homes. She said, so I used to watch Sister Sister. And I said to myself, everything that he says to his daughter, I'm going to use it as a lesson in my life. She says, you raised me. And I want you to know that I just graduated from college. I'm getting ready to get married. And I'm an artist. She says, you raised a good daughter. And that really touched me. You know, it really touched me. And, you know, it's again, it was a shock of reality that you realize the power of some of these characters. Not that, you know, you don't want to play. I'm getting ready to play. I'm acting in a film now, and I'm getting ready to play a very despicable person, and he's a killer. And it's funny. I wanted to play. I always said I'm always playing likable, excuse me, likable characters. And I said I want to play a villain. I want to play somebody like Training Day. You know, I want to get in there and be this. And I've been saying that for about a year. Well, lo and behold, I get this script, and it is a despicable character. I'm a murderer. You know, and I'm having fun doing it. But I don't think people who see me as Ray Campbell are going to be happy.
I think it's about time you can play a bad guy now. You've earned your stripes. You can be a bad guy now if you want. What would you say has been the most challenging role that you've ever had to do so far in your career? Would it be this one that you're playing right now?
Well, no. The most challenging roles comes out of a role where you find yourself, and I've had the same situation where you do things sometimes for money. In other words, you say, I need to earn some money. I don't like this character, but I'm gonna see if I can find something in this character that will make me feel at least comfortable. And I've had a few of those, and at the time I didn't have any work, and I wanted to play this character, but spiritually the character was so disconnected from the kind of character I wanted to play. So you spend your time frustrated trying to find something within that character that allows you to show a measure of your spirit, a measure of your soul, and those are difficult times. But by and large, you know, this business is difficult. Have I had difficult times? Oh yes, I'm having difficult times doing a network. I'm having difficult times with this role. I'm having difficult time. That's part of the freight that you have to pay to be in our business. This is a very difficult business. You know, I've been told, I've been in the business now for almost 45 years. I have been told 95% of the time, I've been told no.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to get this role. No, you can't do that. It's the 5% of the yeses that I have made millions of. So go figure. Who would say I'm going to accept no 95% of my life just for that 5% that changes your world? That's sometimes the nature of, for some of us. Not some people have 95 yes the entire career, but I haven't had that. You know, it's funny. If you had $100 every time I was told I wasn't black enough, you know, you could pay your rent. I've been told that. So I remember one time I went out. This was in the early '70s, '75, I guess it was '74, '75. I auditioned for Roots. You know, the iconic supposed black story of America, and the audition next to me as I was LeVar Burton, who was a student at USC at the time. And this was his sort of first big audition. And I'm sitting next to him. He goes in and comes out and he's happy. I go in and they don't even let me read. They say, you're not black enough. You're not dark enough to play in Roots. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. I've been on the land where my folks were slaves and sharecroppers, and I'm not black enough. So I've been told that I've had white producers give me black lessons, you know, how to walk and strut. Oh yeah, I've had them stand up and say, "No, you're not black enough. You got to put your back into it. You got to, you know." And I look at them, and I have actually said to many of them, "You should take the part. You're a lot blacker than I am." Exactly. You can't let, you can't let the fears of others. You know, people of African descent are the most feared people on this planet, and they fear us, especially the the colonial-minded people fear us because of guilt and shame, and others fear us because they're afraid that we will somehow wake up and decide to get revenge or whatever they fear. But you can't allow that fear to be part of your story. You can't accept their fear. In America right now, there is a lot of fear, not only for COVID-19, but there's fear of, white America is afraid that it's losing its power, its privilege. And so they're striking out at anybody who is not of that mindset. People are fearful of losing their job. There's so much fear. All I know is that I was taught by my grandmother and my father that if you take on the fear of someone else, you limit your ability to succeed. You limit your ability to survive. So my grandmother used to say, when things are bad, you look in yourself and you find those things. Everybody has something that they're good at in their spirit and their character. Every human being has something. I've seen paintings by people who had no arms and they painted with their feet. And they're some of the most incredible paintings I've seen. So everybody has within them something that they're good at that touches their passion and their soul. My grandma said, when things are bad, you use that to make a way for yourself. You use that as an opportunity to build upon that. And believe it or not, you will find success in some way, in some measure. And that's my philosophy. Whenever business was bad in Hollywood, I was doing sitcoms. When I finished a show called WKRP in Cincinnati, they said, you're over. You're a comedian. We're not doing comic anymore. We're doing dramas. So I had to change my whole mindset and try to get a drama. So I started working out. I gained a lot of body mass, weight. And guess what? I played a policeman on an hour show. And I got in a thing called Simon and Simon. And then they said, we're going back to comedies. You do drama. I said, no, well, I'll go back and do comedies. And I created a show. Since they wouldn't give me one, I created one for myself called Frank's Place, one of the most critically acclaimed shows in the history of television. So you have to always go within yourself first. No matter what the philosophy is, whether it's the art of war or whatever it is, first thing they tell you is to still yourself, to focus on your inner strength, your inner beliefs. That's what you come from. You don't come from fear. And anybody who uses fear as a weapon or as a choice will be defeated. At some point, they will be defeated.
Gosh, I'm learning so much from you right now. You've got so much wisdom.
It's incredible.
Oh. You learn by doing sometimes.
And before we go, I just want to ask as well, will you be doing any projects on colorism on your network? Because that's something that I feel is so destroying our community sometimes. It's always black against black, you're too dark, you're too light, and I think we just talked about that, but I think, how are you going to talk about that in your network?
Well, I mean, I've been talking about it all my career. I did one of the first shows ever dealt with racism among blacks was the show Frank's Place. It was called the Brown Paper Bag Test, where in certain cultures, if you're darker than a brown paper bag, you don't get to join the club. So I've been doing that all my career. As I say, I love the culture of people of African descent wherever they are, and not just the good, even the bad, because we can learn from the ignorance of the way we treat each other. So I do documentaries on that. I have documentaries running on my network. I should say all anyone has to do right now is go to lgcytv.com, lgcytv.com, and you'll see documentaries about things such as that. A lot of the content I have on there comes from my associates in the UK. For many years, I would come over and work at the BFI South Bank. They would give me the facilities, and I would bring in and offer opportunities to Black Brits transplanted from Ghana, Nigeria, or the Caribbean, or those who were second or third or first generation Brits. And over about 6 or 7 years, I have become associated with many young emerging filmmakers. Now emerging, they are filmmakers. Some of them are working for the BBC. Some of them are doing their own projects, movies, and you'll see some of their content. on lgcytv.com. So I enjoy that probably. I have several young filmmakers who I'm associated with in the UK. And we've done at least 4 or 5 projects in the UK, short films. I've actually, there was a wonderful film called Emotional Backgammon, and by Leon Henry. Leon directed it, and I saw it and liked it. I didn't see anything like that at the time in America, so we distributed it here. I think some of the better writers and actors, by the way, the UK actors are taking over Hollywood. I mean, you're everything. Yeah, and a lot of actors in Hollywood are upset by it. I'm not. I think the fact that they have come here and found the kind of roles that they could not find in the UK, you know, that they have actually changed for the better the kind of movies that are being made in America, because, you know, you have to compete. And they came over here and kicked butt, and they, you know, both men and women, they were that pent up talent that just had to explode. Well, see, over here, not that we are not as good at actors. It's just that we get caught up in genres, and the hip hop music genre has been so spread out among American culture that it's taken over the film industry. It's taken over commercials. Everything has that sort of urban cycle, that urban genre.
Yeah.
And but there's so many other stories that should be told. There's so many, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that it has become, when the dominant culture sees something that they can make money with, it becomes the predominant thing. They just do it until they kill it. They just keep doing the same thing over many different forms. So when the dominant culture saw that the hip hop music was going to be not only profitable in the music world, but they began to put it in everything, then suddenly everything had to have that urban feel, the dialogue, you know, the slang, all of it had to be in those stories. Oh, how hard it is to live in the hood, and everything was coming that way. Well, we are many different people. We come from many different philosophies and religions and everything. And when you get trapped in that one cycle as an actor or writer or director, you limit yourself. You limit your ability to see beyond just that myopic view of Black America. And then all of a sudden, these wonderful actors from the UK and from Africa came to America and started broadening the characterization of the African diaspora and the kind of roles, you know, it was refreshing. And of course, now the dominant culture says, okay, we need that kind of actor. So us actors in America need to step our game up. It's a challenge. It is competition, and that makes the business better.
That's true. And one last question. Do you have, I mean, you have given a lot of wisdom, but do you have any advice for upcoming actors?
Wow. Upcoming actors. You know, it's difficult now. It's difficult now for an actor to rise because everybody is an actor. I mean, not only professionals. I mean, you look at politicians, you look at everybody is performing because of this social media. You know, you go on Instagram and everybody is doing acting, little kids, everybody. So, you know, as an actor, if you're trying to start a career, the first thing you got to have is a sense of purpose and passion for what it is you want to do. And you have to have a strong foundation. Just wanting to be something is not enough. You have to have a strong foundation. You have to understand. You have to study the masters. You have to go back and look at some of the greats and think about, you know, who are they? How do they act? Watch them on film, and begin to find the best way for what's, as my grandma say, we all got something in us that is of value. As an actor, you have to go inside and find that thing that is your true center and base of your character and your spirit, and figure a way to let that come out through your characterization. You have to believe you are what the role says you are, and you have to bring yourself to it. I think that's why the Black Brits have come to America and done so well. They're training, many of them, because it's so limited, because the competition is so great, you had to work harder. You couldn't take it for granted. You had to study. You had to, you guys are still doing Shakespeare. We're over here, nobody's paying attention to Shakespeare. They're looking at Dr. Dre. They're not thinking about Shakespeare. So you guys have a stronger foundation. And I'm finding now, by the way, writers, the best writing I have seen in the past few years are coming out of the continent. Ethiopia, even Nigeria is changing. They don't have the technique and the filming skills yet because they're starting out. They're building their studios. They're reaching. Their film business is changing. But in terms of storytelling, the best storytelling is coming off the continent. And I see that in some of the things that are breaking through. Queen Sona out of South Africa, a wonderful series on Netflix. Netflix has invested their future in the continent of Africa. And they're setting up Canal Plus, they're putting up black channels. I mean, France putting up a black channel. They don't even like black people, but they're buying up. I've been in negotiations against them in Ethiopia and other places. People follow the genuine thing, whatever it is. And I think I was told one time that the average person could never find a real raw diamond. They would step over it, they wouldn't pick it up. It takes that rare person to see a diamond in the rock, because the rock, the actual diamond, is muddy and it's not shaped, it hasn't been chiseled, it hasn't been polished. It's this raw thing. It takes a keen eye, someone who knows what a diamond looks like in the raw, to find that great diamond inside that. And I think that's what you have to think about your talent. We all have this raw, innate opportunity and ability with us, but it's got to be mined. It's got to be sharpened. It's got to be chiseled. It's got to be polished. That takes time. It takes passion. And but if you want to be a good actor, you got to go in and find that thing in you that's worth showing to the world. And I see that, and when I watch some of the performances, especially some of the Black Brits, I see that. I mean, and it's making American actors, especially of African descent, it's making them step their game up. Oh yeah, there's better acting now in Hollywood than there's ever been. There are more wonderful actors. I mean, before, when I started out in the early 70s, you could take all of the Black actors who were working and put us in one van, and ride around. There couldn't have been more than, on television, there couldn't have been more than 10, 12 in the whole industry of television that were working. Greg Morris. I mean, you look at them and you go, wow. I mean, I feel so blessed. I was one of the first people of African descent to be a producer and produce a network show. It was only a handful of us. I mean, literally 3, 4 in all of television. Now, you look at the incredible talent of people of African descent, and it's amazing. Actors and writers and directors, and we're all getting better. And they're making me keep my game up. I have to, I just started this network because I wanted to. I'm bored. COVID-19's got us all locked in. I'm saying, well, I better do something. I'm not just going to sit here. Yeah. So I decided to take my content and create lgcytv.com. And we're moving into other platforms. Animation, we're going to be bringing in animation. And I'm going to start spreading this content. As I say, I'm a cultural propagandist. I got to get my propaganda out there.
On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Tim Reid.
Blessings to you. Bye-bye.